The longest necktie in the world, being tied around a Roman amphitheatre in Croatia. A piece of marketing genius that attracted worldwide attention. It's also an example of local economic development, where local people look at their strengths and weaknesses and rise to the challenges of globalization. All over the world, people are adapting to new global markets. Traditional top-down development strategies have often failed to deliver, and the gap between rich and poor has widened. Local economic development offers a bottom-up participatory alternative. For the International Labour Organization, or ILO, it's a way to focus on income generation with an emphasis on the creation of decent work. The upmarket Croata tie shop in the Croatian capital Zagreb. The tie is the badge of businessmen the world over. But in Croatia, it's more than that. The necktie or cravat originated here and takes its name from this Balkan country. Many of the ties here tell a story. They're based on designs drawn from Croatian culture. They're exported all over the world. This limited edition retails at more than $500 in Japan. But they're produced locally, playing to local strengths. The company chose to locate their factory in Davor, a small town on the Bosnian border, where the workforce is skilled and labour is plentiful.
The reason why was because Davor is a place with the biggest birth rate in Croatia. It is also a very interesting place because in this place is already they have a very rich tradition working by hand.
Most of the workers learned their skill at home. Maria is one of many who didn't have a job until the Croata workshop opened. It's the only factory in town, and people value the work. There were some jobs on the other side of the river in Bosnia, but with the fall of communism and the war, markets collapsed and traditional employment patterns were shattered.
Well, it's not very easy. There's not many jobs here in Croatia. There are many unemployments, and so they are happy to work here.
The factory employs more than 20 people. It has a distinctive website and has opened shops abroad. It's concentrating on increasing exports. With ILO assistance, it's building a new factory where it hopes to increase production. The investment was made possible with the help of a loan at favourable interest rates facilitated by the local Economic Development Agency of Western Slavonia. It's one of 4 local economic development agencies set up in Croatia by the ILO and other UN agencies.
Well, the concept of local economic development in Central America or Southern Africa or Central and Eastern Europe, the concept is more or less the same. We're trying to work with local people on the basis of local investment opportunities, highlighting, bringing to the surface these investment opportunities and trying to do something, contribute something to develop the local economy. But this translates into many different actions.
Local economic development usually includes the following phases. You map out your territory, grab the interest of stakeholders, create a local forum involving public and private partners. Then you design your strategy, decide who does what, and finally, implement the strategy with local service providers. In Okučani, local people gave a high priority to rebuilding a marketplace where smallholders and refugees could sell their produce. Dragic's family owned a cafe that was destroyed in the war. Now she depends on growing her own vegetables.
The first thing that local communities wanted to have is basically improvements in the entrepreneurial infrastructure. So we see the marketplace as basically entrepreneurial structure, a place that will allow trade and income generation.
The local Economic Development Agency also supported the formation of a co-op for apple growers. This enabled them to invest in cold storage and diversify their production. The activities bring people together.
We were thinking about the COP method as the most appropriate one in the ethnically mixed communities, because the COP is a way of joint work. And when you work, you can overcome all these nationalist differences between the people. The process is very slow and not finished today, but I think that we have made a tremendous leap forward.
Croats work side by side with Serbs in this Western Slavonian timber business. Local economic development has proved itself in the field of post-war reconstruction. The idea came to prominence in the 1990s, following the signing of the Arias Peace Plan for Central America. It became part of the international community's attempts to consolidate the peace process.
National reconstruction. Celebrations were held in the streets of San Salvador.
Local economic development was a package who combined elements who contribute to this peace process, because for one side they offer very concrete results in terms of generation of incomes and creation of employment, but at the same time we facilitate an environment for reconciliation because it was based in consensus building and also in a process of social dialogue in the region.
In Morazan, El Salvador, the ILO set up the first of the Central American agencies more than a decade ago. The original UN project has now finished, but the agencies continue under their own steam. There are now 18 of them throughout Central America. One of the key findings of the ILO is that LED takes time, but it has proved its sustainability. The first director of the Morazan agency was Alejandro Benitez, and he is still working, setting up agencies and capacity building now.
La agencia de Morazán, la del Morazán sigue funcionando por varias razones. Una, porque desde el principio creó una visión de sostenibilidad, o sea, se fueron buscando diferentes alternativas para poder desarrollar a futuro su propia sostenibilidad.
Recent projects include a geographic information system, where local people map out their own area in great detail.
Acá trabajamos datos sociales, trabajamos datos geográficos, información de tipo de suelos y se empiezan pues a dar algunos resultados también con la información económica del departamento.
One way sustainability is achieved is to charge engineers and businessmen for access to the information. Local economic development has spread throughout the world. It first gained popularity in Western Europe in countries such as Italy. Since then it has travelled across the world, from one developing country to another. In the Manica province of Mozambique, around 90 women got together and were trained in how to run a micro-savings scheme. They borrow small amounts, often only $10 at a time, and pay off the loan every month. Maria Filomena took out a loan so she could take over the family business when her marriage split up. It's a rural area and there's not much farm machinery. She has her own mill to grind maize and other grains for villagers. By securing her income, she can keep her children in school.
Eu fiz decidir porque a minha família é muita. E eu vivo só, devo desempenhar papel de mãe e de pai. E achei aquilo um método bem seguro para eu angariar um fundo e mais tarde pensarei também em fazer uma melhor coisa para os meus filhos.
The loan from Manica Community Bank, set up with ILO assistance, means she can plan ahead and dream.
Já que estou no fim, eu gostaria de ter mais uma banca, ter congelador e aumentar assim uns quartos, como tenho talhão de aluguel, aumentar uns quartos para poder alugar.
A social worker from the municipal council helps train the women. The local authority welcomed the chance to work with women, often poor and marginalised. The Women's Initiative has turned out to be one of the great successes of the Manica Local Economic Development Agency.
Temos o caso, grande impacto, o caso das mulheres em Manica, as mulheres vendedeiras, que é um caso concreto também, que faz de facto com que a agência se sinta implantada e que tenha de facto contribuído para uma grande parte do desenvolvimento da província.
Manica lies on the Beira Corridor, an important trade route. Local economic development identified this as a strength. The provincial government has concentrated on developing local agriculture and also on reaching out to markets outside.
Through local economical development, we have been able to attract a lot of investment, particularly in agriculture area. But also we use this important structure to show the opportunity that we have in Manica.
In Mozambique, the government has decided to make local economic development part of national policy. This way, development is coordinated at all levels. But the challenges of globalization are not just faced in poor countries. In Western nations, such as here in Northern England, it's been used to regenerate struggling economies. What's important for the ILO is that the bottom-up approach enables people to take their future into their own hands and work towards a fairer world.
For the ILO, the local economic development activity became a package. It's a way where different elements of ILO approach are putting together in a logical framework around the concept of decent work. In local economic development, you have employment creation, but you have quality employment creation. At the same time, the framework is a framework of dialogue, of consensus.
The approach is attracting increasing interest as a way of helping people meet the challenges of decentralization and globalization. At the London School of Economics, there's now a master's program in local economic development. It's run by Andres Rodriguez Posse, who says that there's a growing consensus that traditional top-down development policies have failed to deliver. What makes local economic development different?
The main advantages of local economic development policies with respect to traditional policies is precisely the involvement. That you get local population, the local forces involved in the process in order to try to root economic activity into that territory, which is something completely different from the traditional approach of deciding elsewhere and bringing firms or bringing infrastructure into that territory. If the decision is taken elsewhere and firms are foreign, then there's the risk that since none of the actors have stakes in the territory, you can end up with more exploitative, let's say less decent sort of work.
The ILO's Director General says the World Commission on the Social Dimension of Globalization found that local issues were high on people's priority lists.
And one of the key points that I want to share with you that is emerging is the fact that seen by people, it generally appears that everything is being done to facilitate the global. Global trade, global communications, global finance, global investments. Nothing wrong with that. But people and families live locally. So they feel that there has to be a balance between promoting the global and promoting the local. And that balance has been totally lost.
Local economic development can help redress the balance and give people a say in the development of their own future. From the town to the village, the countryside to the city, the links have never been faster, but in other ways, people are worlds apart. Local economic development is a way to connect people's lives at the local level to the national level, and in a globalized world, to the international level.